Welcome back to the Keep Going podcast with Vin Kennedy. I'm your host, Vin Kennedy. Today we have a special guest. This is Kevin. Kevin, you want to do a brief intro?
Yeah, name's Kevin Higgins, 23 years old, entrepreneur, coach at Middletown South football, and I own StoneFit.
Yeah, so obviously in your home gym here, and if you want to just kind of go into the story behind it and what it means to you.
Yeah, so StoneFit is something I created, I guess, in my darker times. It means a lot to me. It's more of a lifestyle as much as it is a business. So what StoneFit was kind of when I was lost, I guess you could say, when my uncle had passed away right before I was about to go play college football at Wagner. He lived in Staten Island, so I was a big piece of why I was going there. He passed away. I kind of just lost my love for football. My dad always told me it's, who you are, not what you do. So I was like, you know what, let's try to find Kevin Higgins the person rather than football. Like, that's all I ever knew. So once I went on that journey, embarked on it, my mother's a nurse, so she got me into nursing. It was, I love nurses. How I feel for them. I see what she goes through, how they help people. So that's what I wanted to do because I like helping people. From a nurse, I was like, this is ridiculous. Shout out to you guys to do all that schooling. Like, it's intense. Yeah. So, and at the time, I just wasn't ready for it. I wasn't fully committed to it. So my twin brother, he's a local 1 plumber. My uncle's all on boards, electrical, plumbing. So we sat in the city for 3 days, took our test. I worked locally, actually, and while working locally, I was working under a guy. I was working in a house, and I remember I fell through the ceiling, and I was just like, what am I doing? Like, not that it's bad. Like, if blue-collar people, like, it's a great trade, like a phenomenal trade. Like, I tell my kids they should do it. My brother does it. He kills it. He does an awesome job. He'll be set for the rest of his life. And it was an opportunity. I remember I passed the test and everything, took it, and it was like, hey, you can start this. You go to the interview, and then I remember instead of going to the interview, I told my parents, I'm listen, dude, this is not for me. Right. Like, I'm just not doing it. I won't ask you for $1. You don't have to help me. I'm going to go follow what I like to do. And at the time, my boss's son was a baseball player. And he was like, yo, I saw your football highlight. Like, I know you're really into training. Is there any way you'd be able to train my son? So I started training him and, like, not thinking anything of it. And then 1 led to 2, led to 3, led to 4. Started posting about it. Then adults started messaging me, my friends. Hey, what are you doing? How can I help? Or, can you help me? Next thing you know, I wrote like 1 program. Then I started studying marketing. That's when I just went all in full throttle. And 1 program led to the next. I had like a whole exact plan. I'd go to the beach, write out exactly how I was going to do it, how I was going to launch my brand, my company, myself, how I was going to sell myself. And that's just kind of how it took off. And then, one summer, it just did really well. We had a lot of athletes. I ended up hooking up with some local businesswoman. She ended up putting me in a great space. She helped me out. I rented her spot, and then directly from there, COVID hit. My girlfriend and I, we pivoted online, took off online, did like tremendous, way better than I ever could have imagined. And then online was sustainable until people started coming back into the real world. And then like next thing you know, like a spot opened up right around the corner from where I was. We took it, and then we were able to transform it, and now we continue to grow. We're about 15, 16 months into our lease here, and we're already looking to branch out different, whether it's a bigger location, whether we expand while we're here. Right. But it's definitely doing well.
That's awesome. So I mean, you touched on a ton there, a lot of good points. And the one thing that kept hitting me is, how old are you again?
23.
So it's just the experience that you've obviously gained throughout this process has changed you as a person, like you said.
Oh my God.
I mean, just even obviously prior to recording, like just the conversation of like who you are as a businessman, it's awesome. Yeah. And at 23, I mean, world's your oyster at this point.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you touched on something. So I have I lost my uncle as well. So obviously it's a tough thing to deal with, but I feel like sometimes like that slingshot effect, like you need to hit that bottom to like slingshot you forward.
No, definitely.
So I feel like that's kind of what happened with you as well.
Yeah, and he was actually into personal training. Like he actually was a personal trainer, like Mark 923 Fitness. Right. And that's what his company was. But he also worked for Verizon. So he kind of had the both worlds in which I was dabbling in. Right. And I remember like he was sitting there and he was like, dude, like it's so much fun doing this. Like you get so much joy out of it. And I was like, yeah. And then like when you started doing it, you started realizing it. And, I kind of just leaned towards, and I've always been into training. Like if anyone is close to me, you've been to my house when you were younger, like my dad, he did a lot. He built like basically like a training facility in my backyard. Right. Like we had all the crazy football sleds, the chutes, the bungee cords. Like, we had you weren't allowed out of the house until you did 100 push-ups, our weight training, our cardio. Yeah. Like he was real regimented about that. So it was definitely good. My mom held us both accountable, my brother and I.
Yeah, no, that's great. And also you mentioned like COVID. So that's weird. I was thinking about this today on my way here. Like there's big corporations that crumbled during COVID. Yeah. And obviously young entrepreneur, and you were able to figure out like what kind of things did you navigate to kind of make things work for you?
Well, I feel like, during COVID, like that kind of exposed a lot of entrepreneurs.
Right.
Either you failed, you sunk, or you swim.
Yeah.
Like, being an entrepreneur is basically finding a way.
Right.
You got to do the, impossible. You got to see the invisible. That's always my favorite quote. Like, all right, I see a finish line. I knew I can get there. So really just refraining back on that. Like, it's just finding, a niche.
Right.
Building a relationship with people. Like, thankfully, I have a good relationship with a lot of people in this town. I hold that close to my heart. Like, I help a lot of people. People help me.
Right.
So I think them supporting me is what got me through the whole situation. And honestly, my girlfriend too. Like, she did a phenomenal job. Like, she helped unbelievable. We used her basement. We started recording videos, and people continue to ask us, and we let it grow and grow, and just really from there.
Yeah. No, that's great. So I guess next would be like, so your fitness, like your personal journey, kind of propelled all of this. Do you kind of want to get into how that started?
Honestly, like I not from a football background, like always sports. My dad had us playing crazy sports, and it's crazy. Like, my dad was, like, he was a good athlete, like he was into it, but like, at a young age, I mean, my age, 23, he had 3 kids.
Right.
He was making like $8,000 an hour at the phone
Different
company.
world, right?
Yeah, so it's crazy. So he would always teach us, like, just a work ethic. Like, I would see him get up at like 3:30 in the morning and start working out. My mom was into training. Like, they were just always into it, and I kind of just saw how he did it and tried to emulate it as best I can. He put us in situations that benefited us, and you look back on it, it's like, wow, like, I'm really thankful for that. Like,
right.
I remember, like, I played for Jersey City Boys and Girls Club basketball. Like, he would go to work, come home, and like, guess what? Before I came home, he'd have my workout written. I'd have to do a strength workout. Then I have to go do footwork outside, and then he'd drive me to Jersey City at like 8:30 at night. We get home at like 12, and he would come and he'd he'd wake up at 3, work out. So developing that work ethic from him installed it in me.
Right.
And then just through football, like, I've always big into it. Obviously, the more you train, the better you're going to be.
Right.
So, like, right after that, I just started getting into it and just my personal development. And obviously, like, when you control what you eat and what you do, like, you control your outcome of your life. So, like, and that's where sculpture statue comes from. I remember, like, when I was trying to find a name, I was thinking of so many things that, sounded good and, what fit me as a person. So every morning I listen to like podcasts and I read and I try to find something. At the time when I was searching for it, I heard a Michelangelo quote, whereas every block of stone has a statue inside of it, and it's the task of the sculptor to discover it. So like, wow, we all have like a life. You're all born a statue, like a block of stone. So every day I can chisel my stone, right? I can at the end look back and be happy at the statue I created, or I can look back and be like, wow, I didn't finish it.
Right.
So I guess that and like the whole process of it, that's how I got into it. And every day I chisel my stone, and and then hopefully now when I pass, whatever it is, or my time comes, you can look back and be like, I did everything I said I wanted to do.
Right.
I'm the perfect Kevin that Kevin could be.
Yeah. So there's a couple guys that listen to. I'm sure you're in the same space, like Ed Milet, David Goggins.
I think Ed Milet's like the best.
Awesome. I saw him in person. It's incredible.
Yeah.
But they both have like a similar idea where like when they die, they're gonna meet. They hope to meet their twin of everything they were supposed to live up to.
Yeah,
it's kind of exactly.
Yeah, like Ed Milet, I feel like he can relate to anybody. Like, he's just he's powerful, man.
Absolutely, yeah. But obviously, I mean, your journey. So, do you think fitness propelled you, or was it the self-growth that really sprung everything business-wise? Because I feel like me personally, like I know physically gave me the confidence to go into other areas, but like you mentioned, like the entrepreneurship kind of really excelled everything. It sounds like.
Yeah, well, you know what it is, the business, like I didn't really think about the business standpoint.
Right.
Honestly, like I still don't even think about it. Like you could ask people who are close to me, like there's maybe how many kids come here for free and like come hang out. Like I enjoy being around people.
Right.
So I think what it was like strength and like conditioning and training is always my passion. So I always found that like when it's a triple P. I forgot where I heard it from, but it's like the best quote I've ever heard. It was when you put your passion behind a purpose, you'll see profit. So like those 3 words, like I was like, wow, that hit me because it's like, I'm really into this. And like my purpose is to be around people. And I feel like when you have the ability to influence, like legitimate influence, not like a social media influence that you see today, or like buy my product. No, like do live like this. I want you to live courageous. I want you to take chances. I want you to be bold, trust in yourself, believe in yourself. I feel like once I put that behind that, then the business was formed.
Right.
It just kind of happened. It didn't mean to happen. I knew that what I wanted to. I knew, like, I would write down on the beach every day, and I think I still have my notebook, or at least pictures of it. And I would say, all right, what are my qualities? What am I good at? What am I bad at? And I kind of write, like, what do I like doing? I like talking to people. I like seeing people. I like being around people. I like motivating. I like talking. I like speaking. All that stuff. So I write down, like, what career path does this lead me? And I was like, wow, you know what? There's not that many career paths with it. Well, I like training. I'm big into training. It's funny because like the drills that I do, my dad taught me when I was young.
Right.
And it was so funny because people were like, where did your dad learn? So your dad's not like a strength coach. Like he works for Verizon, but like he would sit there and he'd make up these crazy drills. And I was like, oh, wow, that's a good drill. Like it works on this and it works on that. And, you know, seeing what people do now and seeing what I wish I did more in high school of, people train a specific way. And, you know, in the end, like an athlete's going to be an athlete. And the number one thing that I guess I learned from my father from training and the niche that I kind of push on to kids is basically make the kid believe in himself.
Right.
Because like in the end, like that's going to take him way further outside of this. Like I don't really care how a kid performs on a field.
Right.
You know, but if a kid has confidence, what he could do and you know, attack everything at full head of steam, like he'll be much better off in the long run. You know,
Absolutely.
That's why you leave things better than when you just had them. So it's good.
Absolutely. And like you said, it's the confidence, building the confidence in them. And obviously you could do that through the training.
Yeah.
But so just even hearing you speak, something that I struggle with, I think everybody struggles with, like that balance. So I know you're a guy that's up at, you said 3 a.m.?
Yeah, 3.
So if you kind of want to walk through how you kind of do balance everything and work through and navigate that for yourself.
You know, sometimes you think about it when you like write it down and you look at it, you're like, Jesus Christ, like this is ridiculous.
Right.
You know, but when it just becomes like a second nature of you, like I feel like when people are like, oh, you're going to burn out, you're going to burn out.
Right.
Like I think you've heard like Ed Millett say it, or people are like, no, you're going to burn out doing things you don't like.
Right.
You know, when it's like second nature to you, like, you know, it's like I look forward to seeing my 5 a.m. I look forward to seeing my 9 a.m., you know, all the way through the day. So, you know, I wake up at 3:30, like, you know, I'll either go for a run, I'll try to get some form of training, whether it's a walk, whatever it is at the time being. I'll have my coffee, I'll get here early, I'll go on the computer, I'll do my emails, I'll go through everything. I'll walk through the workout twice, 2-3 times, make sure it makes sense. And then I'll leave, and then I obviously, as you know, I did sign up for the Ironman, so I am gonna do the Ironman. Only the half though for right now.
For now, yeah.
70.3. So that's definitely been a huge switch, like in terms of time, like how much training needs to go into it. And obviously, you know, like you just ran a marathon, which is awesome. So you know, you have an idea of how long, how much effort needs. So like I'll do that, and then you know I'll eat whatever, and then I'll go to football practice. I'll coach, and then I'll come back. I'll train kids for about 4 hours. I'll clean up, I'll set the room, and then, you know, 9:30 comes and you're in bed and you're relaxing, and then, you know, you end up reading or you schedule for the next day or getting through emails. You know, thankfully my girlfriend's really good with all the emails. Like I tell everybody, like I don't really look at emails as much as people think. Right. Like she kind of does all that. So I think having somebody to help you, I think what happens is a lot of times people go up and they try to be so ignorant. Like if you don't get help, you're only going to be so minuscule. You know, you need help. Like the more people help you, the further you can grow. Yeah. Like I'm willing to take a step back to grow the business, and like Jordan does a phenomenal job. Jordan's one of our trainers. You know, she's up here early. Ask her to do some. You know, she'll do anything. You know, to her best of her ability. You know, beyond that. So it definitely helps. And in terms of business, like personal life, like I don't really work Friday nights late. You know, Saturday, like Sunday, I have all family day. Me and my dad, my brother, family watch football all day. Saturday nights, you know, whatever my girlfriend and I want to do. The Friday nights, you know, I usually coach right now, but we like to go see all the kids' games. So it's fun.
It's fun, yeah, absolutely. And then you do have, like, obviously, now it's dedicated to the prep, but you have, like, the middle of your day, you do have time to kind of...
Yeah, we usually have about 4 hours to kind of get through whatever I need to get through.
Okay, cool. And then even hearing you speak there, it's like you said, you're willing to take the step back because you know building the community and kind of the bigger vision. So you take the ego out of it. And I think that's important, especially a young dude seeing success like this, like that's tough to navigate.
You walk through the front door. The back door actually has leave your ego here.
Yeah. See, but
it's, you know, it's what we stand by.
Absolutely, and I think that's where people kind of find themselves at that standstill, where like you said, it's like that's the difference between progressing and excelling and just kind of getting capped because you can't do it all, and you realize that. Yeah. And I think the community aspect as a whole, like I think you're very well known around Middletown. I think. Almost everybody in Middletown probably knows exactly what Stone Fit is. You know what I mean? Like I talk to people all the time, and I think that's awesome. That's important, and a lot of people try and make it about them, and that's something you don't do, which I think is kind of special.
Yeah, I mean we donate to I think everything possible.
Right.
You know, the amount of kids who come in here just to come in here. Right. You know, we offer, a lot of people don't know, is we offer like special ed programs. A lot of times during the middle of the day, we worked with a few schools. You know, it doesn't cost anything. It's 100% free. Right. Like obviously, I don't get paid for it. Right. You know, I feel that it's my, I guess, duty. Like, you know, like I said, like when you have a responsibility, and you feel like you do, and you don't take advantage of it, you're doing the world a disservice. Yeah. You know, like I feel like there's not many, you know, people in the situation to do good. Right. You know what I mean? So the better you do, the better people are around you, and then
absolutely,
like, you know. Like you go around somebody, you spread your positive energy, let's say. Guess what? That person, and it emulates, and it grows bigger and bigger, and that's how you grow a better community. You know, that's how I feel.
Absolutely. And really what it comes back to, too, is like yes, training is the vehicle that allows you to express it,
Yeah.
but it's bigger than training. It's your
Oh,
impact.
yeah.
And I
Oh,
think
yeah.
that's something that you really hit. And even obviously just sculpting the statue and building confidence in these kids and just showing them limitless potential. I mean, you're 23, crushing it. Like it's awesome, man. It's inspiring to see.
fun.
For
It's
real.
fun.
But and then so the other thing that I think I've dealt with, and a lot of people that I talk to in this space kind of say that, like, I had those years from I want to say 18 to like 24 of like binge drinking every weekend, and obviously like you skipped that phase, which I think is fantastic, and I wish I could have skipped that phase because like who knows where I'd be now. Again, everybody has their own journey, but like how do you feel to that where it's like, you know, like I've never seen you at Red Rock, which is a good thing, but it's like, you know what I mean? Like how do you
we
feel?
go there probably twice a year. We do our gym. We do our gym parties
Well,
there
yes.
actually. But you know, I mean, obviously you party in high school, you have your fun and
Right.
stuff. But I think I was just like, I honestly don't even know. Like I like being around people who I like being around.
Right.
You know what I mean? Who
Yeah.
who like I feel like, you know what, feelings are reciprocal.
Yeah.
You know, I respect you, respect me. So
Right.
when I go in those places, it's like some people do, some people don't. Like I
Yeah.
don't like to be around certain things.
I know what you mean.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I just feel like it brings me down. Like, you know, like you are who you are around.
Absolutely.
You know, whatever the quote is. And I mean, I'm happy I didn't, because
Yeah.
it's like I always feel like the defining decade. Like I think Gary Vee speaks about it a lot, and he's like, what you do in your 20s, like it means so much. So if I can, you know, put a lot of hustle within like from 18 to like 28, like I could set myself up 30 years down the road.
Oh,
So
yeah.
why wouldn't I? Like to me, I'm okay with not going out on Friday or
Right.
Saturday. And thankfully my girlfriend is the same way. She has the same mindset. We're like, you know what? When I'm 40, if I want to go to Miami on a Tuesday, it won't be an issue.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
that's what I'd rather do.
See the bigger vision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And honestly, my family, like when we go on vacation, I go on vacation once, twice a year. Like last year, I was able to bring my sisters on vacation. You know, I tried to send my parents to Hawaii, but my dad ended up getting like shoulder surgery. That's why he couldn't go.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But we'll reschedule and stuff. But like,
Yeah.
you know, I think that's the biggest thing with the business is growing the business and being able to put the people around me in a better situation.
Right.
You know, in the end, that to me, that's what it's most about. Like, I don't care if Kevin Higgins has $1.
Right.
If the people around me are taken care of, you know, that's what means the most to me.
Absolutely. So I think that's funny too, because like a lot of, you know, you get this weird conflict with like when you're in that self-growth like space and you want to help people, it's like, well, you do need money, but I think you have to look at it as like money to fund more growth and more positivity, and be able to spread your reach more. And I think that's exactly how you kind of utilize it.
If you look at like our margins, it's actually hysterical. They're like razor thin.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes like some months are like, damn, how did I even do that? And it's
Right.
like, you know what? I felt like the members needed a new skier. I felt like they needed a new rack. I felt like they needed a new this. You know, let's take them all out. You know, and to me, that grows, you know, exponentially.
Well, you're investing in yourself. You're investing in the business. So it's really, I mean, you're going to see the return, even if it's not in the short term. And I think that also kind of goes back to something that you've obviously leaned into, which is like the delayed gratification of everything. But like you've realized that.
The Japanese bamboo tree.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard that?
No.
So I used to tell my mom this every day, and she used to think I'm nuts. And I've been telling her forever. I've been telling her, Mom, by the time I'm 25, I'm going to be a multimillionaire.
Yeah.
I told my mom, by the time I'm 25, I'm very far off from that right now. So
listen,
we got a lot of work to do. We got like a year and a half to do. Like,
yo, you got a prep
I know.
coming.
That's why like I'm hoping this thing blows up.
It.
So we get a bunch
podcast
of
blows up. That's it. This
you never really know. So I mean, honestly, we're making protein bars and stuff now. So I'm hoping once we put them in stores, hopefully things can take off.
Absolutely.
Or else I wouldn't have to be here at 8 o'clock at night.
Sure.
But the Japanese bamboo tree. You can look it up and quote me on it too. Basically, what it is you water it every day.
Mm-hmm.
You water the seed every day, and like the people are like, dude, it's been like a year, like nothing's happened.
Right.
It's like, listen, I gotta water it every day. Doesn't grow. But on the 5th year, you keep watering it. On the 5th year, it grows like 150 feet within a year.
Okay, yeah.
So like the whole concept is you have to do it every day, and like it's the delayed gratification of like knowing where it can be. So I remember telling my mom, she's like, this kid's out of his fucking mind.
Right.
And I'm like, no, Mom, I'm telling you, like by the time I'm 25, I'm a Japanese bamboo tree.
Yeah.
And she would just be like, you're nuts. And I'm like, no, I'm telling you right now, mark my word, I'm a Japanese bamboo tree.
Yeah.
So I'm waiting until I'm 25. So a year and a half, a lot can happen.
Absolutely. And I mean, if she doesn't have the belief in you now
Now
look at
she
this.
does. Now
no,
she
I
does.
know,
Now
but
she does, yeah.
it's funny too that, again, obviously joking around about your mom, but like other people won't see that belief. Like you said, you need to see it.
Oh, yeah,
it's
you gotta
it's
see
the
the
invisible
invisible,
belief.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So then something else I want to touch on that I deal with myself, and I know for a fact you deal with it as well, is the idea of like people thinking that you're cutting them off when really you're just trying to better yourself. So like, how did you navigate that, and have you like dealt with that in your own life?
I mean, at the time, I guess some of your friends, like, you know, if they're really your friends, they don't really care.
Right.
You know, at the time, they're like, you know, they give you a hard time about it. Then they're like, wow, I wish I did that too. Like, you know,
Yeah.
now you see a lot of them starting to do it. You know, and I tell them like it's nothing personal. You
Right.
know, I don't hang out with a lot of people.
Right.
You know, it's not that I don't choose to, not that I don't like them.
Right.
It's just that like honestly I don't sleep that much during the week. So like
Yeah.
my Friday and Saturday nights, like if I can go to bed early, I'm gonna do that.
Absolutely.
Because I have to catch up on it somehow, or else my body's just gonna shut down.
Right.
So that's most of the time they understand. You know, and like obviously like you're just not into it anymore. So
Right.
when they call me to do other things, that's great. I'll come do it, and when I'm able to, I'm there.
Yeah.
But if I have a training session that like, especially when I was first starting, I was like, listen, dude, I got a big session tomorrow morning. I got this team. I got 50 kids. I have to make sure this is perfect because this is going to lead me to X, Y, Z. That I 100% understand, and then that's cool. I mean, I'll be
Yeah.
the DD. I'll pick you up if you need it.
Right.
So I mean, that ended up working out all right. So
Yeah. No, I think it's something tough to like kind of navigate because people kind of take it personal. And
Yeah.
it's again, like you said before, like it's not personal.
Yeah.
And it's just you see the vision, and if people don't understand it in the short term, obviously, I mean, you've built it at this point.
Yeah.
But it can be kind of confusing and tough to navigate, especially I know where I came from and what I was previously doing compared to like I did a 180. You
Yeah.
kind of lived this path. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like I did a 180. I know a lot of people in the same space that did the 180 as well. And again, we all have our own experience, but a lot of people do take it personal, and it's not you see the big vision, and that's what you're chasing,
Yeah.
and no one's got to get it, unfortunately.
no, they're not.
Yeah,
It is wild.
yeah, it's definitely crazy. But we'll hop into some questions here. One would be like, what was your biggest fear? So obviously, I think fear holds people back from just starting, and clearly you were able to start and build here. What was your biggest fear originally with starting Stonefoot as a whole?
You know, people ask me that a lot, believe it or not. And I mean, I've told my dad 1,000 times prior to doing it, like, Dad, I'm telling you, I get a spot, that's it, it's game over. Like,
Right.
I know what I'm able to do. I know what I could do. I know the potential in it. I never really doubted myself.
Yeah.
You know, it was always proving yourself right. I don't want to say I wasn't scared at all,
Right.
but I'm not going to say that I was.
Well, so this is how I feel about a lot of things. It's like you have that fear or the scare, but that's never going to stop you.
Yeah, I just feel like, you know what I mean, if you're like really an entrepreneur and you really believe in yourself and you trust in yourself, like, yeah, you have that little bit of but you never really let it overcome you. You know, you never let that opinion become your reality. So
Right.
like, I think I definitely did a good job in that. I guess my biggest fear was like, oh my God, are people going to stop coming?
Right.
You know, how am I going to continue to adapt? So I guess I was wrong. I guess that was my biggest fear. Like,
Right.
okay, yeah, I have people now, but like, we do it month to month. You know, it's
Right.
month to month. There's no agreement. You know,
Yeah.
other places like 3 months agreement, 6 months. It's month to month. So like,
Right.
if you're not getting pleased, you can leave anytime. Like it's
Right.
100% okay. So I think the relationship is like, oh my God, are people not going to like it or this and that? So you continue to like get new things, and then that talks about reinvestment again. It's like, how can I keep people interested?
Right.
So that, you know, we put hours into just programming, and it's like now we're changing our entire structure program
Yeah.
in legitimately 2 weeks. And I'm like, okay, let's see if we can shock everybody.
Right.
See if they're gonna like this even more, you know. So I'm gonna try something new. Like I told you, we're not gonna get on it too much. We have some massive expansion and
Right.
ideas and stuff that we're gonna get into within the next 6 months that are gonna be real exciting.
Right.
So I guess that was my biggest fear.
Yeah. And I think another way to combat that is like you've built the roots. Like, I mean, like I said, everybody in this community knows who you are, what you're about. And it's, of course, they come here for the fitness, but they come here for you and they come for the impact. And I think that's the game changer.
Yeah, it is. I'm thankful for it.
Yeah.
To be in
No,
that position.
absolutely. Listen, I just appreciate having you around.
Yeah,
Seriously.
yeah, definitely.
It's great to have like-minded people out here
No,
that just
yeah.
really wanted to help people, and
Yeah.
you can tell.
Yeah.
And then next would be, so what's your biggest fear now? And you kind of touched on it, where is it still like people coming back month to month, or?
Not as much. I guess my biggest fear now is, you know, I kind of guess you touched on it, like making sure I experience everything.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, business is great. Working is great, but
Yeah.
I do want to make sure I take time to myself.
Yeah.
Like, cause like Monday through Thursday, especially like the summers and stuff, like I'm out all day training
Right.
and working and training and working and building and growing.
Yeah.
And like I do, like, what is it? Who's the guy who says it? Ferris Bueller. He's like, if you don't take it, whatever.
Yeah.
You know the quote where he's like, you
Yeah.
don't want to, you want to enjoy the good times while they're there.
Absolutely.
So I guess that's my biggest fear, is that like I don't want to miss out on anything. Not miss out on anything like parties or anything.
No, yeah.
But like the little things that life has to offer. But like I'm very good. Like I don't think I've ever missed a family event.
Right.
You know, cousins, anything. Like I will never to this day. You know, I promise myself that. But you know, I guess I would like to be sometimes home a little more.
Right.
But I guess besides that.
Yeah. Well, again, that goes back to the balance, and it is tough because you're in the middle of expanding and building something.
Yeah.
So it's like, and I always say it's like live where your feet are, and
Yeah.
it's that dynamic of like working and growing, but at the same time enjoying. And it could be the simple things. Like you walk in here at 5 a.m., you see smiling faces, and like you're here now. You know what I mean? Instead of always thinking future.
Yeah, I mean, so we'll have like 40 people in here at 5 a.m.
Right.
If 40 people want to wake up that early and come here to work out, it means a lot.
Absolutely.
If they're willing to do that, and trust me, I'm willing to do whatever they want to get them where they want to be.
Right. And I think, and again, it just kind of goes back to too, where like a lot of people live for that Friday night, and you're over here.
I'm living for the Monday morning.
I was gonna say you're living for Monday morning at 5 a.m. It's a game changer.
I think that's like my favorite hour because it's like, damn, this many people showed up on a Monday.
Absolutely.
That's crazy.
It shows the dedication. Yeah. And it's obviously.
I'm thankful to have a relationship with I think every single member in here. Like I know them, I know their families, I know where they came from, I know their likes, their dislikes. Like to me, that means a lot too. Like and now I have an effect on how many different lives.
Right.
And they have an effect on mine. So it's definitely cool.
No, absolutely. I mean, like I've seen it firsthand, and that's why I said like everybody in this community knows you. My next door neighbor, his son plays lacrosse. Kenny, he comes here.
That's my man.
And like his dad Joe's the absolute man. Guy was helping me out, setting up my my charger at my house, and we were just having a conversation. Your name came up, and I was like, oh yeah, he's the man. Of course I know him. But it's funny, like, and you have that positive impact on people, and it's cool.
It's good.
Yeah,
it's fun.
And then something else I want to touch on. I know you work directly with like No Limits Cafe. Mm-hmm. If you kind of wanted to get into how you started up with them, and
so I don't really necessarily work like hand in hand with them.
Right. It's like a support system.
Yeah, like I will. Like if they ever need anything, I will. Like I'll be the first to donate, first to go over there, donate my time.
Right.
I went to school with a lot of them. Mm-hmm. Claire, Megan, Katie, Jake. If I'm missing anybody, I'm sorry. And like we're really close, and like we stayed close even through middle school, through high school. And I guess seeing them and like they were honestly like when I did the grand opening, like they were all here.
Right.
They're one of my best friends too. And,
right.
I love Claire.
Yeah.
She's posted
Claire's
about
the best. I know.
She's the girl. And Bray, Haley. Like there's so many of them. I know I forget them.
Yeah.
They're some of my best friends. So like if I'm able to support them and they're able to support me, as a mutual like-minded people.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about it. So that's why like I'll donate. They want to come in here at a certain time, work out with me if they trust me, and they're I will do whatever they want, whatever they need as much as they can.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's just another question here that I've been asking a lot of people because I feel like we all have that one thing that we could change today that would help us in the long run. Do you have anything today that you could change or work on that would, and it could be something silly, like some people forget to like renew their license, like anything that you're kind of putting off that could kind of change your current situation or just even help you grow?
I'd like right here.
Start vlogging more?
Yeah, you know what it is? I told you I want to vlog, I want to do all this stuff, and like I know how important it is, but a lot of the times like I'll either forget it or I'll just like there's very little content down here, and and I have to do a better job because like even just talking, like I like talking, I like getting my ideas out there into the world, and I feel like it's definitely a different approach to get my message across to the people who want to listen.
Right.
So I guess that's the one thing that I feel that's holding me back, and I need to do a better job on it. And like I assure you, like I have a thing in my room written right now. It's like the next 100 days. What are you going to do? I have my next 100-day goals. Every day I'm going to do X, Y, Z. I'm going to post this on here, post this, these two on here. I'm going to do this. I'm going to try to see if I can commit to it for 100 days.
Right.
Almost like a amplified 75 hard.
Right.
Like, am I willing to if I really want to get to here, I have to be willing to do that. And that's the whole reason I did the Ironman, honestly.
Yeah. To vlog, hold yourself accountable.
Yeah. It was just like, you know what? Like, I know I'm here. I know in the end I want to be here.
Right.
So what can get me here? What can hold me consistent? Okay, let's do an Ironman.
Yeah.
Let's do a half. It's completely out of my element. Like,
right.
I'm a football guy, and I'm used to like strength training. I'm used to the training in here, and I've never ran more than a mile, 2 miles.
Right.
And now I'm like crushing them, and now I'm like, Jesus Christ, I'm not crushing. Like I'm not as fast as you. But
listen, I was the slowest kid in all sports
and
teams.
I couldn't even believe it. And now I'm like, my whole training structure changed. And it's like, I have to change to grow. I have to adapt. I have to take myself out of the comfort zone. So to me, it was more of like, this is where you want to go. This is where you're at. If you're willing to do all this in the next 100 days, even the Ironman's in 8 months. So I don't know how many days it is. But, if I'm really willing to get there, I have to be willing to do all of this. So to me, that's what it came down to.
Absolutely. And I mean, and it's true too. Like you have a great story and you already make an impact in person. So to be able to kind of put it on a bigger scale on social media and kind of get it around would be awesome.
Yeah, no, it's definitely this podcast is very inspiring too. Like you do a great job of your life, the way you turn your stuff around.
Just trying, man. Yeah.
I remember when you called me like 2 years ago when I was like very new in a Stone fan. You're like, yo, what's up? My name's Vin. And I remember you from Metro back in the day when you used to hang out at Nick DeLue's.
Yeah.
So I remember and I'm like, damn, like he's really all about this. He's all in. I was like, I told my dad, I'm like, this guy's gonna stop being a cop right now. And then, you know, you
Here we
did the
are.
same thing I did, but like, you know, yours is a little more extreme because you already had the pension, the 401. You were
Yeah.
there. I didn't take that step.
Right.
I avoided it, and I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going all out.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, but it's the growth, and like you said, and it's funny. I have a buddy who actually just bear crawled an ultra marathon through New York City. It was 31 point something miles.
Oh, it's what's his name?
James.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
saw him on TikTok.
Absolute savage.
Yeah.
But he just said something the other day that really hit for me, which is, so we're all about making ourselves uncomfortable because you know the growth it'll force.
Yeah.
And it's something that has just been ringing like in my head because he said, he's like, you know, at some point, you know, 4 miles is uncomfortable, and then you start doing it, it becomes comfortable. So I'm sitting here, I'm like in my second marathon prep, like I have the goal of running a sub 3 hour marathon, so I have to hit that. But it just shows for like that next goal, it's like running's comfortable now.
Yeah.
So it's like what's next, and it
Yeah.
is that like searching for, again, not that
Yeah.
it's like a scare for you, but like even vlogging and getting into the social media,
Yeah.
it's just something new and uncomfortable that
Yeah,
will force.
and you know, it isn't even like I'm like nervous to talk to a camera.
Right.
Like, I stand in front of a room, I speak in front of people all
Right.
the time. Like it's more of just like the doing it. Like,
Yeah.
what am I putting it out for? Like really, like if I follow myself around with a camera all day, like
Right.
eventually something will hit.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely. And that's the funny thing too. We're like, this was never my thing. Like
Yeah.
so it's being so consistent that it becomes yours.
Yeah.
And just make it your own. And
Yeah, consistency works.
It's-
That's all I ever know is
it
like
really
hard work
does.
works. You do it, you put the work in. Like it, you know, consistent action creates consistent result.
Yeah. And even before recording, like it's another thing to touch on is that it's choices. Everything's choices and opportunities.
Yeah.
And we have a lot more control than we think we do. Of course, outside events happen and they are out of your control, but you control what you put in your body, you control what you put in your mind, and you
Yeah, that's what
control.
we said before.
Yeah, you control your emotions too, like
Yeah.
to an extent, as far as reactions.
Yeah, like I think like there's the book called like The Daily Stoicism. I don't know if you know, like
Yeah,
by Marcus
Ryan Holiday.
Aurelius. Yeah, I read
okay,
basically
yeah.
Marcus Aurelius passages
Yes.
and stuff, and like Seneca and stuff. And I just find them so interesting. I have Veni Vidi Vici on my leg tattooed. Like I saw, I conquered. So like
Yeah.
you know, obviously with the Roman headpiece, like when you become a him. So like on my leg, eventually, like I want to like tattoo the rest of it,
Yeah.
and basically show my story and how I came and conquered my life and
Right.
my business and everything. But he talks a lot about like controlling your emotions. Like,
Right.
when you learn to control your emotions and how you handle situations. Like if I stub my toe in the morning, I'm not going to just start cursing out the world.
Right.
Because that's what's going to happen. Everything else is going to be shitty for me.
Right.
You know, if I'm like, whatever, you know, nothing I could do. Like when you're able to control your emotions, like you can ask my girlfriend, Jordan, like anybody, they'll tell you the same thing. Like, I don't really stress.
Yeah.
You know, okay, what am I going to do? I'm not going to sit here and complain about it.
Right.
It happens. If I sit here and complain about it, guess what? Everything else is going to suck. I'm going to find a reason to complain about something else. So, you know, the way you view the world, I guess, you know, that makes a big difference, a
Absolutely.
huge difference.
Perspective.
Yeah.
And it's funny too, because like, I mean, think about how long Marcus Aurelius was writing that stuff down. It still rings true. Like
It's
just-
crazy. It's
yeah.
crazy. I think
It's-
about that all the time. Like even like the lessons that you teach like your kids and stuff.
Yeah.
I actually thought about it yesterday. I'm like, I forgot like what the quote. My favorite quote my dad always tells me is like, you know, it's not who you are, it's what you do.
Right.
You know, and like, see, you have to separate the two. And,
Yeah.
you know, be known as this. So even when I teach my kids that, I'm like, wow, like, you know, he's turning 50. It's like now you're teaching kids who, you know, he doesn't know, teaching kids who are like 7.
Right.
And then, you know, the families, and then it just continues to spread. Like, that's crazy. Like,
It
when
is.
you really think about it, like how many lives one person can change without realizing.
Absolutely. And that's why too. I mean, you get that camera going, you're only more
Yeah,
and more people get
exactly,
positive influence.
exactly.
And I think so. Something you touched on, and I just had this conversation with my little sister yesterday. It's weird. Like you change your dynamic, you do a 180. My best friend's my little sister. If you told me that years ago, I would have been like, "There's no way."
Yeah.
But it's funny. So yesterday we were talking, and it's like you have that. So for me, I take in a lot of information and podcasts. So I have like David Goggins on one end,
Yeah.
and then I don't know if you know who Jay Shetty is.
Yeah.
So it's like you got these two. I wouldn't even say polar opposites because they both
I don't think
strive.
anyone. And no one's like David Goggins.
Right, but it's they both strive towards goals. They just have their own way of doing it. And it kind of what you were saying there were like we control. So like obviously something happens, you have an emotion to it, but then you control your overall reaction.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where people get lost and kind of sit in their own depression, for lack of a better term, and
Yeah.
you kind of just get lost in it, and you don't change, you don't
Yeah.
evolve, and you kind of
Yeah.
just you get
That's
lost.
what we said like earlier. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I'm not saying depression isn't real, because it is. You know,
Right.
there is an extent, but a lot of times I think we, like you said, you get lost in the idea that like
Right.
I can't get myself out of this. When in the end, like you're the only person who's able to help you.
Absolutely.
Like no matter how many times you like talking, yes, it feels good. Like journaling, it feels amazing. You can get your ideas out there. But in the end, like there's only one person who can really fix that.
Yeah.
And that's you. Like especially the things you can control. Like you said, outside things, there's nothing you can do about certain situations.
Right.
Like it's horrible. But like things that you can control, like you have to be willing to control them. Like, hey, you know, maybe I don't pass a test, I'm failing.
Right.
You're not studying.
Right.
You have to study. You know, the way you do anything is the way you do everything. You
Sure.
know, if you're gonna be, I'm gonna cut corners. I'm not gonna clean my room. I'm gonna make it a mess. Guess what? Everything else is gonna be messy.
Yeah.
You know, and it all comes into a full circle.
Absolutely. And I think, like you said, just self-growth as a whole kind of changes everything around you. And the one thing that we both kind of leaned into was fitness, and you could control your body by what you put in your body.
Yeah.
And from there, the change just kind of keeps evolving.
Yeah, and honestly, what you put in your mind, like that's also the biggest thing. Like I look at myself, am I gonna be like happy? Am I gonna be like, what's going on with me? Like the way you see yourself is huge too. Like you have to be confident. You have to, be happy with where you are. And that's probably the biggest lesson I've ever learned was like, you're not going to be able to receive until you're able to like accept what you have. Until I'm 100% grateful for everything that I have, then I'm not gonna be able to let more into my life. Like how can I take more if I don't even understand what's with me right now?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And another thing that goes back to is like, you have to, so I look at myself where like, obviously I did a little bit of a 180 there, and it's like, you have to be the leader that you needed at your lowest. Yeah. And again, it's what you've built out of yourself. It's what you built out of your business, and it's inspiring, man. It really is.
That's cool.
And so lastly, the time old question is, so what keeps you going?
I like the idea of the podcast name too.
You like that?
Yeah, it definitely clicked. It definitely clicked. I guess what keeps me going is I saw how much my parents had to struggle. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like people say it all the time. Like, no, they really did. Like, I remember my dad's like, he made $8 an hour when he started. He had 3 kids. They bought a house in Jersey. My mom went back to school. My dad, like I said, my dad would wake up at 3. He'd work out. He'd go to work in Brooklyn. He'd come home. He'd make us work out. He'd take me to Jersey City. And like, just to see how much time went into it, I feel that like I can't sell them short. Right. You know what I mean? Like, obviously the end goal is like buy them a home, or like make sure, listen, I got you, take care. Like now, like I'm happy. Like now they're in business with me. Like my mother helps me. That's what my dad's getting back surgery next week. So he's panicking right now. Yeah. Which I mean, is a lot. It is a lot. My mom actually, she's been making protein bars forever. And like, I was like, Mom, like, let me start putting them on the shelf. Like, so now like, I'm hoping that does well enough for like in the end, it can take some stress off their shoulders. Like I'm one of 5. I have a lot of siblings. I have my younger sister Melody, like my older sister Tyler, Charlie, Brian. So I guess to see where they came from, being like, I don't want to say like my dad says like I was like came from nothing. Like he came from nothing. Like he was poor from Brooklyn, moved out here, built a lot for himself, But the one thing that they always kept so full and rich, like the real rich to me, is their family and what it meant. So I want to prove to them as well as myself that like their lessons didn't go unnoticed. Right. Like I talk about all the time, like how much I really learned from them, and you don't realize it until you look back at, wow, like that's what that meant. Yeah. So sometimes I get frustrated with my siblings. I'm like, did you guys not listen to what mom and dad said? Like, did you not see what they went through? Sure. You know what I mean? But we all see it at different times. Not that they don't see it, they do see it. But like, I don't know. I just take so much pride into it. Like my dad didn't drive me here to not get anything out of it. Right. He, and even when I stopped playing football or basketball, we put a lot of time into basketball. I stopped playing at the end of sophomore year. And I would have been like a 1,000-point scorer. I don't know what I could have done. I'm just saying.
That summer league I saw.
Yeah, you see, NBL. I am a defending champion. I will be making my return. I signed my agreement yesterday.
But no, absolutely. And honestly, I think that's something that circulates social media, and who's real about it, who's not, is that like retiring your parents is like the biggest flex. Yeah. And it's true. And regardless of, where you came from or the upbringing you had, like I know I'm in a very similar boat. We're like very, very family oriented, very close. And like, again, my mom and dad would do anything for me. And it's true. It's like, they were always driving to practice, driving you all over the world, like put me in Catholic school. Like, and it's true. It's like to be able to give back for all they did for you is kind of like the real. Yeah, no, it is. And like, honestly, just anyone who supports you, support me, I'm going to support you. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like you ask the kids, like I'll order, $70 for a pair of sweatpants. Right. I'll order 50 of them and I'll give them out to all the kids. Right. I'm not asking for anything. I'm not asking for you to give me money, Yeah. And like we'll go out to dinner, like I'll, if I'm gonna eat well, you're gonna eat well. Right. That's what it is. If you're in my circle and you trust me, you care for me and you support me, I'll always make sure you're all right. Right. And I'm not looking for anything. And that's the cool thing too, because like you never know what kids coming in this gym that could become the next. Obviously, they're going to be their own individual, but you don't know. Professional athlete, they could become anything.
Like I say, it's the impact. Crazy the impact that you have. Like I know some kids in some horrible situations, and they'll come here and you will never see it. You'll never know what situation. Like looking at him from an outside lens, and you're like, oh my God, that's horrible. Yeah. So like I know that him coming here and being around these people and what it does for him is like second to none.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? It affects beyond that.
Yeah, it's the
So,
positive escape
yeah,
they need.
exactly. Like I see all this stuff all the time. I was talking about this, I think my girlfriend all the time on social media. It's like the people that do stuff and they look for a recording. And like, oh, I'm going to give this person
Right.
money because they feel bad. Like
Yeah.
watching me change their life. Like you don't need to record.
Right.
That's always my biggest pet peeve.
Yeah.
And if anyone does it, like I apologize.
No, I know what you mean.
It's meant with a good heart,
Right.
hopefully. But a lot of times, like do things like don't look for a response. Like I do,
Right.
you know, you got to act like because it's the right thing to do, because it's
Right.
your heart's telling you to do it, not because I want like someone the gratification of, oh, you're such a good kid. Why? Like I don't look for that.
Right.
No one, you know, you shouldn't do that looking for that. If that's the case, don't do it.
Right.
You know, and that's always it.
Absolutely. Yeah. But honestly, man, really appreciate your time.
Definitely.
This facility's awesome, and I'm excited to see what the future brings. And you're gonna crush this Ironman.
Yeah, hopefully.
All right. Well, appreciate the
Good to
time,
go.
man.
Definitely,
Thank
bro.
you.
Always.